All right, let's dive in. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on something you see literally every single day, whether you realize it or not, the language of advertising. We're not just going to look at how these ads grab your attention, but we'll get into the really surprising reasons why they actually work. So let me start by asking you a question. How do the pictures you see every day really affect you? Because, every single ad, from a giant billboard on the highway to a tiny little banner on your phone, it's way more than just a picture. It's a message that's been so carefully put together to talk to you on a level you're not even consciously thinking about. And that really gets us to our first big idea. When you strip it all down, every ad is basically making you an offer and, in a way, a demand. And it does all of this using a visual language that our brains are just wired to get, even if we're not actively thinking about it.
Okay, so check this out. This is one of the most basic rules in visual storytelling. In Western cultures, we read from left to right, and you better believe advertisers use that. The left side of an image, that's usually the before picture, what's familiar, the problem you have right now. And the right side, that's the after, the promise, the adventure, the better life the product is offering you. It's like a path for your eyes.
Now what about the center? Well, that's the main event. It's the star of the show. Whatever they put smack dab in the middle of the frame, that's what they want you to focus on. It's the hero of the story, and 9 times out of 10, it's the product itself. Now, to make sure you're looking exactly where they want you to, advertisers have this whole toolbox of tricks to make things pop. They can use size, a bold font, a bright color, but one of the most powerful tools, it's focus. When one thing is perfectly sharp and everything else is blurry, that's basically a giant visual arrow pointing and screaming, "Look over here." It's not just about what you see, but how close it feels. The distance in an ad tells a huge story. If you feel like you could reach out and touch the person in the ad, that creates an intimate feeling. But if they're further away, part of a group, that feels more social or even public and distant. Each one is picked on purpose to make you feel a certain way.
So, you put all this stuff together, the left to right flow, this thing in the center, that feeling of distance, and boom, you get a complete story. Think of a classic Nescafe ad. You might see a tired, gloomy morning on the left and a bright, happy, energized day on the right, with that beautiful cup of coffee right in the middle, being the hero. It's a whole narrative in a single glance.
Okay, so after hearing all that, it is totally natural to be thinking, wait a second, are we just being played? Is all of advertising just a bunch of psychological tricks to make us buy stuff we don't really need?
Well, here's where it gets interesting, and it might not be what you think. From a business point of view, the main goal of an ad isn't actually to trick you or scare you into buying something. The real reason is, well, it's a lot more basic than that.
And that brings us to the bigger picture. We've talked about the how, all the cool visual techniques. Now let's get into the why. What are the real business goals that are driving all of this?
When you boil it all down, the absolute most basic job of any ad is just awareness. Before a company can even dream of getting you to buy their stuff, you have to know they exist in the first place. I mean, you can't choose a product you've never even heard of, right? It's the ground floor that everything else is built on.
Now, there's this myth floating around, you've probably heard it, that advertising is just a game for these huge, mega-rich corporations. But when you actually look at the numbers, you see a totally different story.
A lot of us think the average company is just rolling in it, maybe making a 36% profit margin. The reality? Whoa, it's way lower. It's actually closer to 7.5%. In fact, some companies, like Angie's List back in the day, were famous for spending millions on ads while they were actually losing money. It was all a big strategic move to get their name out there and grab a piece of the market.
So if it's not always about making a quick buck, what's the end game? Well, advertising has these much bigger, more strategic goals. It could be about reaching a whole new group of customers, or maybe changing how people think about a brand. It could even be about showing they're a responsible company, or just trying to build an emotional connection with you. I mean, think about Apple. When was the last time you saw an Apple ad screaming about a 20% off sale? Pretty much never, right? Instead, they tell these beautiful stories about creativity and empowerment. They're not just selling you a phone, they're selling you an identity.
And Coca-Cola does the exact same thing, just in a different way. Their whole goal is to weave their brand into our happy memories, family dinners, big games, holidays. They want you to associate their drink with good times, and that is an incredibly powerful emotional connection.
Of course, ads are still meant to be persuasive. That's the whole point. And to get there, they often lean on these scientifically proven principles of influence, like the 6 big ones from Dr. Robert Cialdini. Think about scarcity. That's your classic limited time only offer. It makes you feel like you have to act now. Or authority. That's when a dentist on TV tells you which toothpaste to use. These are definitely powerful tools, but there's a key difference here. They're designed to persuade you, not necessarily to trick you.
Okay, so this brings us to our final and I think most important takeaway. When you put all the pieces of this puzzle together, you start to see advertising in a whole new light.
So here's the bottom line. The best, most effective advertising isn't about twisting your arm or forcing you to do something. It's about connecting with a need, a want, a motivation that you already have. It works when it feels less like a sales pitch and more like a solution that's actually relevant to you. I can tell you, I've never been forced to click an ad, but have I clicked on one that showed me the exact thing I was already looking for? You bet I have.
So I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. The next time an ad catches your eye, on TV, online, wherever, just pause for a second. And using what we've talked about today, ask yourself, is this just a clever trick, or is this a genuine attempt to be relevant to my life? The answer, well, it might just change the way you see the world around you.